Hey guys, it's Rupesh. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm super excited. Normally I talk about customer service, I talk about marketing, I talk about online stuff, all the fun stuff you do online, social media, and some of those things. But today I have a super important topic to talk about, which is hotel financial stuff, which is, sometimes you might put in the back burner, say, hey, I'll get to my QuickBooks or my accounting later or next week or when my bookkeeper comes in. But this is stuff that we need to talk about today, and moving forward, it needs to be in the foreground of your hotel business because it's very important. And I'm super excited to have Mr. David Lund on with me, and he's the hotel financial coach. Welcome to my first video through Skype, and thank you so much for being, on board.
Well, thank you, Rupesh, and it's a pleasure to be here and a pleasure to be with all of your followers. It is nice to break every once in a while from what we normally do to try something new and exciting. So I'm happy to be here with you to do that.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Say, listen, so I get your email every week, and my manager does too, and a bunch of our employees and our leadership, they get your weekly email, and it's valuable stuff. So guys, make sure you subscribe to his email that he sends out every week with chock full of great information. But David, tell us about your background and how you got into the position that you're in, and what you do.
Sure. Well, I'm proud to say I'm from Canada. So my wife and I live here in Southern California, but we're both Canadians, and I worked for Fairmont Hotels for just over 30 years, mostly in Canada, but my last gig was in San Francisco at Fairmont on Nob Hill. And for most of my career, I spent in finance and accounting. For the first 10 years of my career, I was actually in operations, rooms, food and beverage. And I never really planned on being in finance. I didn't go to business, I went to hotel school. But through some twist of fate involving my older brother, which is another story altogether, I ended up in accounting about 10 years. And I discovered that I liked it because what I could do was speak the business of hotels as well as the numbers, which is a unique talent in the financial field. Because usually people in finance, they know the back office really well, but they don't know the front of the house. They don't know what. So about 5 years ago, I left my career with Fairmont and I started my own business, and I knew what I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be around financial leadership and teaching the non-financial leaders in our business about the numbers and removing the fear and the uncertainty and the confusion around the numbers. And I like to tell people it's not accounting. I don't even like to use that word. It's business thinking that I teach people.
Sure. And so what do you do today as far as you go out to hotels and show them, exactly how to do their books and kind of get the team together? What do you do exactly as far as your consulting?
Well, what I do, I offer a few services. The primary service I offer is one-on-one coaching. So if you're a budding hotel or maybe a new general manager, I'll get on the phone with you every week and we'll go over what it is you need to know about the numbers for your job, how to read the P&L, how to read the balance sheet, what all these different things are that you're now faced with that you've never dealt with before. And the second thing I do is in a workshop format, I teach a group of leaders the same thing. So clients will hire the hotel and meet with their leadership team and take them on a workshop where we'll explore the business areas and the leaderships. And as you mentioned, I also do a weekly blog. I do public speaking. I speak at conferences about creating financially engaged leadership teams. And so a lot I do though is, or will do is, I don't go in the accounting office anymore and fix their books. My wife does that. She does a lot of that actually with clients. I don't do that. I teach the leadership, the business acumen, which is what it used to be called. I've changed it around. I call it hospitality financial leadership skills.
Sorry, hold on. My this thing keeps popping up, and I need to pause it real quick before it drives me crazy.
Okay.
It's my Google Drive's
technology. It It must be an election day ad.
You know what? I have Google Drive and it backs up to the cloud, my entire computer, and it's just started like going crazy. So let me see if I can stop it somehow, and so we can continue. I apologize. How do you stop this thing? Pause.
No problem.
I think you do pause right here. Pause. Okay. All right. I got the pause on. Thank you. Yeah, it's cool. You know, I've been in the hotel business for quite some time, and I kind of grew up in it. And you know, accounting did scare me in the past, and I would be like, you know what, I'll open these bills next week. I'll open these bills the week after, and I won't look at payroll, and I won't look at these things that are coming in. And you know, more than 10 years ago now, I said, you know what, I need to really focus on the stuff that at the end of the year I know I made money, right? So a lot of hotels, and I speak to a lot of general managers weekly, and they are either new to the business or new to this building or their hotel. So what's the first thing new hotel managers can do when they come aboard a property as far as the books?
Well, the very first thing you need to do is realize that the books, the financial statements, it's just a way to keep score. And that if you have a bookkeeper, if you have someone who's preparing these things, what you want to be comfortable with is, what is this information telling you about your business? Because that's really it's the speedometer for your business. How fast are you going? How fast do you want to go? And if you can approach it from that angle rather than needing or thinking you need to understand the accounting part of it, then you're miles ahead. Because really, you know, understanding the financial position of your business and whether or not money is a fundamental thing that all leaders, managers need to know. And if you're new to a GM's role, you need to sit down with your bookkeeper and say, okay, show me the P&L, show me where we're doing well, show me what this means, ask questions, get really, you know, every single line in that statement means something. It's there for a reason. Ask questions. Don't ignore it. Whatever you do, don't ignore it.
You know what I do? I say, listen, Kelly's my bookkeeper. I say, Kelly, I'm dumb at this one thing. Can you just tell me, can you explain it in detail? And that always works, because when you kind of play dumb and you might know it, but you want to kind of understand it more, it stops your fear from asking those questions, right? So that's kind of my tip, but I like that you need to get in and learn those books right away, because you could be bleeding money. And, you know, you see a lot of hotels, you talk to a lot of hotels and hotel owners, and where's the first place hotels bleed money when they're looking at their financial statement or their P&L, right?
Well, our biggest expense in this business and in any hotel is payroll. So, you know, if you don't have a good handle on your payroll, and if you don't know what your system is for staffing and running your schedules, and if you don't have a what I call you know, productivity schedule where you know whether or not you're being successful, and just looking at your labor cost and the dollars is really not going to tell you, because dollars always go up, wages always go up. But what you want to be looking at in the hotel business is productivity, hours per room occupied. So with a little bit of reorganizing of the data that's already there, hotels can develop systems, you know, without any investment at all in hardware or software, just an Excel spreadsheet or even a piece of paper, and you can start measuring your productivity. And what you want to do with that is improve the productivity, improve the hours per room occupied, improve the hours per customer cover served in the food and beverage operation if you have one. So that's where I always point people first. And then the second thing they need to be looking at is, does every one of my managers and leaders that runs a department, they order their supplies. Do they have a plan? Do they have a what I call zero-based budget or forecast, where they know every month what's on their list, what's been approved, what's in their forecast, and then can they adjust that spending according to business volumes? Because let's face it, going into the month, I might think I'm going to be running 75%, but if I'm only going to do 65, I need people to put the brakes on. But if no one knows what they're supposed to have to begin with, how can they put the brakes on?
Right. And you talk about tools. What are some tools? I know we use Excel, and you might use a spreadsheet or a Google Drive to kind of share data across multiple folks in the team. What's some tools? What is a tool that we can use as far as that you recommend for hotels? Either it's through not the accounting system, but tools for minutes per room or some of these kind of variables.
Yeah, well, one tool I recommend to clients definitely is to start to measure labor productivity in rooms and food and beverage. And if you go to my website, there's articles, detailed articles on how to set that up. One's called Rooms Productivity, the other one's called Food and Beverage Productivity, and there's a third one called Creating Productivity Measures in Your Hotel. So read those articles. The second thing they can do is they can go to my YouTube page, and there's actually videos there where I talk about how to do this. I was recorded at a conference doing a session, and I do sessions with clients on how to set up these productivity measures. And it's relatively straightforward. It's simple division and multiplication to figure this out. And then the other thing that I recommend clients incorporate as a tool is what I call a flow-through model. So, it's great that we're doing well this year and that our RevPAR is up, that our revenues are up, but how much is my profit up relative to last year? So it's a simple measurement where we look at the increased revenues and divide it by the increased profitability at GOP or rooms profit, and we see what the flow through is. So it's it's a concept, flow through, but it's an important tool that hoteliers need to have at their fingertips. And I even teach some of my clients how to incorporate this right into their financials. So it's a simple schedule you can add to the bottom of your P&L, and it will show you how much of the revenue you kept as profit from one period to the next, or from 1 year to the next, which is a valuable thing to know.
A lot of questions or one question that people, general managers, always ask me, or owners really, they say, what's the most popular accounting tool out there? What do you see, David? What's out there, and what's the most popular as far as a mid-scale property? Let's say someone that owns a few properties as far as their portfolio. Yeah. What do you recommend, or what do you see out there in the industry?
Well, I'm not going to name names because I've got a couple of relationships with software vendors and also clients that use competing products or whatever. But definitely what you want is you want something that's cloud-based, and you want something that you can easily set up and maintain yourself or your bookkeeper maintains. You don't want something where you have to call support all the time to have the line or to make some adjustments to it. So get comfortable with that kind of an environment. And tools require a certain amount of investment. So if your accounting software is 5 years older, then you need a new product. And there's some great ones out there that you can rent. That's what everybody does these days. They rent the software. It's all in the cloud. Someone maintains it. They set it up for a modest fee, and then they just charge you a monthly fee. But you'll start to get great financial information that's going to help you make more money in your business. And that's what it's all about. So I'm not going to name names, but there are a few, 2 or 3 really good, inexpensive products that are designed specifically for hospitality.
Awesome. So cloud-based is what you're talking about. Make everything accessible anytime,
definitely,
anywhere. You could travel the world and still access your data and your financial health. Now, talking about financial health, it's the end of the year, and for a lot of GMs and owners, it's budget season. Let's say for a hotel that does not have a budget, how do they start off even thinking about how much they need to spend for 2019 in each department? How would do you do this, first of all? Do you go into hotels and say, listen, you guys don't have a budget, I'm going to help you set one up, and here's how to do it? What do you recommend really quickly?
Absolutely. Yeah, so what you need to do in order to get a budget cycle going, first thing you need to know is how many rooms you sell every month. So go back for the last 36 months, map it out month by month, and then from there you would want to break it down into the major segments: transient, group, corporate, where my customer is coming from, and then on top of that, what is the average rate each one of those segments is earning me in each one of those months. So once you map that out and you map out the room revenue every month, you take a look at where you are this year relative to your budget and last year's results, and you say to yourself, okay, where do I want my business to be next year? Since in the last 12 months, I've sold 20,000 rooms. I have a 75 room hotel. Maybe next year I want to sell 21,000 rooms. What then do I need to do from a sales and marketing point of view to increase my occupancy and to be able to get my rate to follow and to grow as well? And then from there, You then take your productivity measures that we were just talking about, and once you know how many rooms you plan on selling every month, you automatically know what the payroll hours are going to be. Multiply those by the rate of pay, taking into account any increases in the average wage or minimum wage rates in your area. And then right away, you've got the basic minimum labor cost. And on top of that, you add your benefits in each month. And again, all this information is available historically, so you need to have that data at the fingertips. But you build it out from there. And then once you're done with that, you go look at your expenses in rooms. What were my expenses in the last 36 months on a cost per room occupied basis? And what do I think it needs to be next year, taking into account inflation and also taking into account any changes in any brand standards. But you need to have the detailed information, and if you don't, you kind of need to stop and pull that out, get it at your fingertips. That's how you do the budget, is by looking at where have I been, where do I want to go, and what is the detail that will get me there. And there's a saying that goes like this: any road will take you where you want to go if you don't have a map. So your budget is your business map. It's designed to say, okay, 2019, my GOP is going to be X, my revenue is going to be Y, and then what do I need to do? What do I need to bring to bear in order to earn that money and earn that profit? So it all really starts and finishes with having good information that you can use to scale out the actual numbers based on the way you track information today.
Great. So go back 36 months and just figure out what your expenses were, where you're moving forward, what's your goals for 2019, and kind of track this. And typically, how long does a budget take to put together when you don't have one? A couple days, a week?
Well, your first one is always, your first one's always the longest one. But if you don't have a budget today, what I would recommend is you run your numbers for the last 36 months, occupancy and rate by major segment, and that's your starting point for your budget next year. Is I want to do my occupancy rate and RevPAR every month for 2019. And if you can lay that out, then you've got a great basis for projecting what the room revenue is going to be next year. And then once that piece is built, build your rooms payroll. Once that piece is built, build your rooms expenses. Once that's done, depending on your operation, you build your overheads. What is my A&G expenses? What are my sales and marketing expenses? What are my maintenance expenses? And again, using the data you have historically. And you put together the GOP picture for 2019. So if you can carve out those blocks, it'll take as long as it's going to take you, depending on how organized you are and how proficient you are. But work with your bookkeeper if you have one, and say, look, I want to create a budget, and here's what I need. Can you pull this information together? And then the two of you sit down, and maybe once some of the legwork has been done, and you put it together in a format that's useful. Put it in Excel. Write some formulas. Once you've done 1 year, the only thing that's really going to change is the year, the number of the year, and then what do I want my values to be next year? How many rooms? What's the rate? And what are my wage rates? What are my expenses?
Right.
So I can't imagine, running a business without a budget, but I know, many hoteliers do it. And it's what I call flying by the seat of your pants.
Understand. Yeah, I see a lot
it's
of
not
that.
Necessary.
I see a lot of that, and sometimes some of us are guilty about it too, where we're like, you know what, we know how much the expenses were. We'll just let it keep going, and if there's a big change, I'll intervene in some of those things. But once you start growing and you want to expand your business, you need to have these budgets and this financial health in place, and that's when they come to you and say, listen, I need help, and get me started, and then they feel more comfortable. It's kind of like riding a bike when you're a kid. You jump on, you might fall off, you jump on, you might fall off again, but eventually you get to ride that 10-speed or that touring bike all the way across, right, the country, and so that's why I kind of look at a lot of things. So yeah, I definitely think financial health is a big part of the business.
The other thing that I teach my clients to do is, if you're the GM or the owner of the hotel, first time you do a budget, you're going to be the one who wants to pull it all together and see the pieces and understand it. But once you understand it, it's your job to teach the department, your key staff, to do their budget. Because once the budget's done, then each month what you want people to do is to take that budget and turn it into a forecast. Because the only thing we know for sure about the budget, the absolutely only thing we know for sure about the budget is that it's wrong. It's wrong from the get-go.
Right, right.
So every month, next year, once we have a budget, I want you to do a forecast going into the month. What's the latest intelligence on your occupancy? How many rooms do you need to pick up in the month for the month? And if you don't have a budget, like a guiding light to say, hey, we're on track, or hey, we're heading for an iceberg, then you have no tools to run your business, really. You're just flying by the seat of your pants.
Understand. Hey, talking about flying, I like pizza pizza dough, and I love pizza. I like when they throw the pizza dough up in the air and catch it. What's the best pizza place in your town? Because I'm going to be coming there in the next 6 months. What's your favorite pizza spot?
There's a place right around the corner from my house on PCH, Pacific Coast Highway, and it's called Johnny's New York Pizza.
Johnny's New York. I gotta look that up on online and.
Yeah. And it's a small chain here in Orange County. There's 3 of them, but one of them is here in my hometown. So
awesome. Well, hopefully we can get some pizza together. Grab a few slices or a whole pie. David, thank you so much for sharing this information. I'm sure my audience is going to find value in it, and I appreciate you coming on.
You're very welcome, Rupesh, and it's been a pleasure being here. And thank you to all of your listeners, watchers.
Thanks. Talk to you soon.